Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Wow. Today is the 7th of January 2025, and already 2025 is off to a just a rocking start. There's been so much turmoil, I think, in the world. I haven't even gone over all the things that have happened just in the States so far. But probably this story here, one of the biggest, well, it's going to be one of the biggest stories for at least a week. Okay, you can never tell what's going to be the biggest story for the whole year because it just seems like one minute something massive happens. It only takes a couple of days, and then something else even bigger happens, and you're sitting there going, "Wow, this is a massive story." But surely this will be a big story for a few days at least. Justin Trudeau, he's out. Looks like he's gone from being the Canadian Prime Minister. This fellow always reminded me of the Premier that we had here in Australia, Dan Andrews. They both took to being, wannabe despots, dictators, very easily, like a duck to water. I'm going to read to you what Alex Berenson has said about Justin Trudeau. I think his opinion piece is very succinct at times. He says Dustin cannot talk. Justin Trudeau is out. Even Canada has had enough. That's true, eh? It seemed like Canadians could just put up with so much. Anyway, so Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, pays the price as the pendulum swings against COVID authoritarians globally. That's what he says at the moment. But as I said the other day, there's a new one coming. So we'll see how it goes. The wicked witch of the North has melted away. Everyone who hated COVID vaccines and lockdown mandates should cheer Justin Trudeau, who imposed strict rules in Canada, then declared a national emergency when citizens protested, is losing his job as Prime Minister. Trudeau said Monday he will step down as soon as his Liberal Party names a replacement. Perhaps the biggest surprise is that Trudeau lasted so long. His approval ratings are now even worse than Smoky Joe Biden's. 74% of Canadians say they dislike him. Oh, wow. Canadian politics are generally centrist, in keeping with the country's tendency towards what Canadians call civility, and skeptics view more as a passive aggressive enforced conformity that puts Japan's to shame. Either way, Trudeau's initial COVID lockdowns reflected his country's mood. His approval rating actually rose in spring of 2020. Like Australia, especially like Victoria, but the whole of Australia, really. So, like Australia, Ireland, and New Zealand, Canada embraced restrictive COVID lockdowns and mandates at first. The country effectively closed its borders except its essential trade in 2020. Its biggest province, Ontario, imposed strict lockdowns that closed most stores and limited non essential gatherings even in 2021. The country ordered more than 10 shots for each person, over 400 million jabs in all, more per person than any other country, and Canadians largely followed orders and rolled up their sleeves. A July 2021 survey showed that 66% of Canadians believe vaccinated people should have greater freedoms than the unjabbed, compared to 41% of Americans. In August of 2021, Trudeau said anyone flying commercially would need a vaccine passport, effectively denying unvaccinated people any realistic way to travel around Canada, which stretches over 3,000 miles from British Columbia to Newfoundland. But by winter 2022, even many Canadians had lost patience with lockdowns and vaccines. With discontent rising, Trudeau showed his true authoritarian streak after thousands of truck drivers and other protesters peacefully occupied the Canadian capital of Ottawa. Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, a law that had never been used before being used and gave him extraordinary powers on February 14, 2022, to dismantle the protests. Right wing groups from the United States were funding the protests, which were thus a threat to Canada's security. That's what they said. Canadian authorities then blocked funding and seized bank accounts associated with the protests and cleared out the encampments. It's pretty scary when governments start seizing bank accounts, isn't it? So, months later, CBC News reported that the Canadian government had known, even before it invoked the Emergencies Act, that its rationale was nonsense. And in January 2024, Canadian court ruled the government should never have invoked the act. Trudeau said he never had any regrets. No regrets, he said. Trudeau defended his vax mandates, the Emergency Act decisions in the interview, in an interview, and with CBC's radio's The House, Trudeau spoke about tough and divisive choices. Trudeau's approval rating, which lurked around 40% for most of 2022, sank further since as media-driven COVID panic receded and anger at the rampage over civil liberties grew. Now Trudeau has joined Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand and, of course, our own Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. on a long list of tin pot COVID dictators who have faced their own reckonings. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch. Goodbye, Justin. Listen, I agree 100%. It couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch. It's just a shame that it took the Canadian people so long to wake up to themselves, or maybe just be able to force him out. But I still don't understand how Victorians kept voting for Dan Andrews. It's like you could see plain as day from up here in Queensland that he was bad for the state, and yet they voted him in again. And now they're reaping what they've sown, where their state is just phenomenal debt. It's just going to drag the whole state down. But you know, we get what we deserve sometimes. Anyway, let me know what you think. I think this is good. I think it's good for the world. It's definitely good for Canada. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens if this new virus scare from coming from China again starts to ramp up. With after what the World Health Organization spoke about the other day, with trying to ramp up vaccine and medical and medicine for this new illness, for this new virus, and they want to clamp down on anyone who's speaking out against it, or they say they want to clamp down on misinformation. So let's see how it goes for this year. But it's definitely, at the moment, it's good news to see Trudeau unceremoniously booted from power in Canada. But I'm pretty sure the World Economic Forum will have someone else lined up ready to go. That's just my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. Please like and share when you get a chance.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher.